Okay, good evening and welcome. Okay, so it's Monday and 8 o'clock. Susan Lee is our next guest. She's just having problems getting on at the moment, but hopefully she will be here in just a sec. We're just waiting for her. She was backstage and hopefully she'll be back on anytime now. So, okay, guys. So, I hope everybody's been well and okay. What's everybody been up to? Tell me. What? Yeah. Okay. Going to listen to that. So yeah, please share. We're just waiting for Susan to come on, and she'll be with us in a few minutes. So, also, hello.
There we are. Got you.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We never seem
Brilliant.
to get it quite easy, do we, getting onto this?
Do not worry.
Yeah.
Do not worry. You finally get on there, and it's okay.
Which is an interesting intro, really, to the topic for tonight when things don't go to plan. So, isn't it really a nice, ironic way to lead into tonight's topic for the show?
So tell us what we're talking about then.
When things don't go to plan, because often in life we have, I don't know, a relationship and we have it all set up in our head that we're going to perhaps get together, start a home together, maybe build our lives together, perhaps have children, all sorts of different things, and that might not go to plan. Or we are on a career route and we are committed to becoming a professional or building a little business or whatever it might be, and that might, something might go wrong in that. Or friendships or health or whatever. There can be all sorts of things where we've set out our own master plan and something happens to rock the boat or pull the whole rug out from underneath our feet. So that sort of thing, and how we cope with that and how we handle it, really.
Have you ever been to that point where all week you're waiting to go out, and all of a sudden, like on the Friday, they cancel?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And you're all geared up and you might have had your hair done or bought a new outfit or cancelled other opportunities to focus on that particular thing, saved your money, and you're absolutely right, and then that doesn't happen. And it can be quite disappointing, can't it? You feel let down in lots of different ways.
How do we treat people when that happens?
Well, I think there's the word pragmatic, where we just have to be practical and say, okay, if I can't do anything about it, then I might as well just stay focused on what is the situation that I have to deal with. And that can be the same as, your car breaks down on your way to something important. Very similar analogy, really, where you can scream and rant and rage and get upset and cry and come out with all sorts of swear words or anger or whatever, but it doesn't change the facts. And so we have to be pragmatic. We have to be practical and say, okay, it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. How do I deal with this? How do I handle this in the best way for me? And I think that's the way forward, really, to say, okay. I mean, it's like a lot of things where you feel to yourself, I've lost out on this, or I'm upset about this, but hang on a minute. What can I do to retrieve the situation? So if it's a night out, shall I make a nice evening in for me? Shall I spend the money and get a nice takeaway or a bottle of wine, or make myself a pamper evening, or whatever, or get some of the lads around? We have to sort of say, well, if I can't do anything about the facts, whatever that might be, then how do I focus on turning this into a positive for me?
Yeah. The trouble is, what we've got to realise, and when that happens, we've got to take a breath for a moment and think, why has this happened?
Absolutely. And some people say, why me? And then on the other hand, you could also say, why not me? Why shouldn't I sometimes be the one who gets let down or tripped up, or doesn't get that contract I hoped for, or that job that I really went for an interview and got shortlisted and thought I'd done really well, or something, my relationships come to an end and I thought we were great. Why should I not be occasionally the person who gets that tough deal? Because life, unfortunately, is full of ups and downs and rocky times and good ones. So, and the truth is, if we were always on a smooth, even keel, it might be a nice way to live, but actually we learn more about ourselves. We learn more about who our friends are. We learn more about our hidden depths when sometimes we have to deal with adversity. When sometimes we get the knocks in life, we find out who our real friends are. We find out what our own inner strengths are. We probably feel really quite good about ourselves when we come out the other side and say, it taught me a lot about myself. I learned a lot along the way. It was a real growth opportunity, and I made the most of it.
So, Susan, how do we adjust when things don't go to plan?
I think we have to take a breath, maybe allow ourselves a little indulgence of kicking the wall or whatever it might be, going and having a tough workout in the gym. We might sometimes have a bit of a blowout and explode and be upset. But I think then we have to come to terms with it and say, do I stay stuck in anger and disappointment and upset? Or do I say, okay, I can't do anything about the facts. That's the truth of it. We can't, if we don't get that job, if we have a health issue, if we lose our special relationship, or something goes wrong, we can't do anything about that. All we can do is tap into our own inner strength, our inner capabilities, tap into perhaps asking for help, tap into perhaps working out what our particular pattern, why it's affected us so badly. Perhaps other people would cope better than us. Why is that? And therapy can be a good way of coming into his own at a time like that. But then say, okay, what am I, if this hasn't worked out how I expected or hoped, maybe it wasn't to be. Maybe I need to think about that for a little while and decide what else are my options. I've come this far. Is there an alternative route I can follow to make the best of this, or to heal myself, or to sort myself out in some sort of way so it doesn't happen again? Learn from the negatives, in effect, really.
Yeah. I believe when you go through healing, I think we need to acknowledge our disappointments too, don't we?
Definitely. As I say, we're allowed to cry, we're allowed to feel sorry, we're allowed to feel disappointed and let down and hurt and upset, but that we're also, good friends will be supportive at those times. Good friends will give us a shoulder to cry on, or a bit of a hug, or take us out for an evening to get us out of ourselves, sit with us over a brew and listen to us. But a good friend will also say, shut up now, enough, it's time to move on. So yes, it's fine to feel sorry for ourselves, indulge ourselves, whatever you want to call it, for a time, to grieve for the loss of what we hoped we'd get. But also there comes a point where our friends will give us a nudge and say, come on now, let's move on. You've had enough now. How much of your power are you going to give away to this situation? How much of your power of your life are you going to give away to that person who's let you down, or that job that you didn't get, or that accident that caused you to not be able to work again, perhaps? How much of your power are you going to give away to that? And how much are you going to say, okay, let me make the best of what I've got and move on from this in as positive a way as possible?
Yeah. And also we need to assess what went wrong in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it? What were the signs that perhaps, if there were any, that we didn't notice? What are the lessons we need to learn about ourselves? All those things can come into a time like this that are incredibly valuable. And actually, don't forget that often 6 months, I know a load of people who got made redundant way back when at the same time that I used to work for British Gas before, a long time ago. And I met over the years quite a few people who were made redundant at the same time. And 99% of the people that I met said it was the best thing that ever happened to them, because it forced them to reevaluate the direction they were going in. And most of those people would have stayed safe and secure, tootling along quite happily in a nice regular paid job, but because they got made redundant, they got a few pounds payout. They got an opportunity to say, okay, I need to do something else. And some of them got shoved into self-employment, or they set up a little business, or they learned a new skill and went in a completely different direction. And they wouldn't have done that without that nudge that forced them to do that. And that can often be the case that afterwards we look back and say, actually, hindsight, the benefit of hindsight, it was one of the best things that happened to me, because it made me do something that I perhaps would never have thought about doing. But as the opportunity presented itself and there wasn't much else for me to do, I decided to avail myself of that opportunity and make the most of it. And that can sometimes be a surprising benefit from an otherwise pretty tough situation.
And also it's just kind of sitting down and working out our goals in life, what we're going to do next.
Yeah.
Talk about the goal again and what's involved.
Yeah. Get into perhaps training or talking to people, networking, making new friendships, new relationships, getting in touch with a voluntary career service of some description, seeing what's out there, what you can do, are there any courses, are there any opportunities for training or apprenticeships? What sort of things can I do with myself? If it's a work-related matter, if it's a relationship matter, where can I go to start making new friends? I was talking with somebody earlier today who had moved 100 miles to be with her partner, and a very short space of time later, he'd ended the relationship, gone off with somebody else. She was left with no friends. His family weren't speaking to her. And she felt isolated and alone. And it is about, dreadful situations like that where we have to start taking tentative stepping stones, healing ourselves, being gentle with ourselves, but taking those tentative stepping stones to think, okay, where can I go to make new friends? Where can I go to start building a new life? I've got young kids. All right, what about the parents at the school gates? What about, maybe a little part-time job if they're at school? Different ways that we can go to different places and talk to the neighbours, smile and go to the same place at the supermarket at the same time every day or week, and you gradually start meeting people and nodding and smiling and maybe building a relationship where you go for a coffee or something. And it doesn't have to be a way of life, but it just is an opportunity to get out and meet and mix with new people, or investigate job opportunities, or whatever it might be that lead to you pushing yourself and learning and growing and moving into a different sphere of your life.
Do you think we always need a plan A or plan B? No, sorry, plan B or plan C?
Well, I think a plan B can be a good idea, so long as it doesn't dilute the commitment to the main goal. So yes, I mean, again, you think about the Olympic Games and you think about these top athletes who all their lives have been spent focused on working towards getting to the Olympic Games, and that's all they've thought about for months and years, and years and years of training and discipline and routines and regimes and coaching. And then when it's over, you find for a lot of people there is a real void in their lives because there's nothing there for them to focus on. But we don't want to dilute the commitment to that main goal, but it can be very useful to have kind of alternative awareness of yourself where you think, okay, I'm going to focus on, I mean, nobody should get married thinking if it doesn't work out, I'll do this or that, or set up a business and think, oh, well, you know, I'll give it a good go, but if it doesn't work out. But it's useful to be aware of your own strength, your own capabilities, your own ability to be independent, your own ability to have interests of your own, to lead your own life. And those things can be a sort of tentative plan B, even though it might not be, you know, one that's mapped out on a roadmap for you.
Also, how do we cope with change? Because change will happen, definitely, wouldn't it?
For sure. And change is ironically, change is one of the guarantees in life, that nothing stays the same forever. So it might be that we get older and our children leave home, or we decide to downsize and move home and move area, or relationship changes, or, you know, the company that we work for makes people redundant. So change is an absolute fact of life. But I think coping with change is about again, being aware of, you know, taking advice, being aware of what your options are, thinking it through, availing yourself of opportunities to talk to people who perhaps know better or who have been in the same situation that you're facing, and finding strength and advice and support, and again being gentle with yourself, and sometimes curling up in a ball and saying that's it's okay to not be okay sometimes, but again making sure that as a backstop that you are taking care to get sleep properly, to eat sensibly, to be careful of booze or whatever, and really treat yourself in a very positive way. Get fresh air, get outside, look after yourself, because those are the things that help support you through times of change, particularly if it's a radical change that was perhaps unanticipated.
Do you think we believe that if we use the path for guidance rather than regret it?
I think we can sometimes regret decisions that we've made and say, if only I hadn't. But again, it doesn't really solve much of a purpose. We might learn from that if only and say, okay, I've learned from that, I won't repeat that mistake again. But we don't want to be too guarded either. We don't want to be having our cautious armour plated coating around us every time we do anything. We don't want to be wary and suspicious of every personal situation we come across. So I think learning to be aware, self-aware, learning to protect ourselves is important, but not to be over wary or over cautious. Because you burn your finger on the cooker doesn't mean you never bake a cake again. Because because you're perhaps sick after having, you know, I don't know, a couple of glasses of wine or a fish dish or something, doesn't mean you never do that again. You never repeat that mistake again or that action again. So sometimes it's okay to say, yes, I might have sprained my ankle on that run, but it doesn't mean that I'm never going to run again. I'll let that leg heal, and then I'll get out there and make sure I travel on softer grass or get better training shoes or something. So we learn and perhaps learn to adapt and influence our actions as a consequence of the experiences that we go through.
Yeah, and also it's about not giving up, really?
For sure. Saying, yeah, I might take a break, I might heal, I might pause for a little while, I might review other options for a time, I might do a bit of a detour. That's okay, but I'm not going to completely go and retreat into my comfort zone, because I've said before, we've discussed this before, if you stay in your comfort zone for any length of time, it shrinks. The longer we spend in our comfort zone, the smaller it gets, because we are constantly protecting ourselves and trimming off the rough edges and staying smaller and smaller as the days go by, and that's no way to live a life.
Can we learn from our mistakes?
I think a sensible person does learn from their mistakes, but hopefully we don't learn to become bitter. Hopefully we don't learn to be negative and say never again. Hopefully we learn to grow as a person and say, I've been through some tough times, but, you know, when I've run through that field of nettles, actually on the other side I see there are sunflowers and sunshine and beautiful countryside. So sometimes we walk through that tough time to discover that on the other side is something fabulous that we feel better about because we've mastered it, we've learned a lot about ourselves, we've grown, and actually along the way we've picked up perhaps some new friendships, some new advisors, and some inner strength that helps us feel that, hey, that was tough, but it was worth it. Because it is the things that were tough that we feel afterwards are worth it. It is the times when we battle for something and we actually succeed, or maybe don't even quite succeed, but we say, at least I had a go. I'm proud of myself for doing that. And I think that's the thing to remember. Having a go, you can be proud of yourself for that, even if it doesn't necessarily work out, because that in itself was a lesson. And you learn to do it differently next time.
And also ask for help, basically.
For sure. Many people are very happy if they are asked for help in the right way. Many people are very happy to share their knowledge, to share their support, to share their guidance, to teach us perhaps. And that can be the beginning of a very important relationship of mutual support perhaps along the way. So absolutely, many people are happy to give advice. They're flattered, they feel complimented that you've actually come to them. So absolutely never turn away the opportunity to tap into somebody else's wisdom. And sometimes it's better to do that than to plod on, wasting a lot of time and effort and resources and not getting anywhere. Sometimes asking for help is really, really important. And a lot of the top business people are very good at asking for help when they need it, because they don't pretend to know everything themselves. Why should they? It's good to have people in your armoury, on your team, who will help you grow.
Brilliant. Susan, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
That was God, didn't it?
It certainly did. Absolutely, it did.
Thank you. In life, we all make mistakes. We live in an imperfect world. If you think that you made so many mistakes and you think, well, it's not worth trying again, then I'm sorry, you're wrong. Just get back up and keep trying, and eventually you will get to your goal. Don't give up. Never. Bye for now.